Hi, and welcome to my kitchen. Happy Wildtree Wednesday with the G-Free Deliciously Cooking Show. This week we're doing pumpkin mac and cheese. It's a really quick, simple recipe that I know you're going to love. When I started out with this recipe, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just not too sure about the combination of all this, but it's very, very delicious, and I'm sure you're going to love it. If you're new here, and that every Wednesday, I do a Wild Tree Wednesday live here on Facebook. You also can register with a link that I've started putting out on Facebook prior to, so that you can watch a replay or go in at any time. And that I am a Wild Tree advocate. A little bit about Wild Tree. The company started over 25 years ago. It was founded by Leslie Monte. She was a mom who had children that had special dietary needs, and she wanted them to be able to eat clean without GMOs and MSGs and all the bad stuff that is in food. And so her solution was to create seasonings and product blends that could help her do that. They were very popular among her family and friends, and it kind of mushroomed into Wild Tree and has grown into what it is today. Wild Tree is certified USDA organic. They are a gluten-free facility, a peanut-free facility. They have also in their third-party certifications, they're Stark kosher certified and a safe foods friendly facility in that. So we have what we call cooking collections that come out every month, and they are usually a bundle of 4 to 5 products, and that are bundled together, that include some seasonal things that you can't get all the time. And so we started those back in September of this year, and I just love them. They make eating and cooking so easy, and that they're wonderful. Besides the 4 products, you get 8 recipes that come with shopping lists, and I just can't say enough about how easy these bundles make cooking and that. So if you think, well, 8 recipes, and that you can look at 2 recipes a week that you can intersperse in with the other foods that you eat. Many of the recipes freeze very well, and you're able to up or down the serving quantity of the recipes on my website at gfreedeliciously.com, because I always do my take on the recipe, and you'll get a little more information there too. And I don't want to sound too salesy to folks, but again, these recipes are so good, and they make cooking just a breeze. You don't have to think a whole lot about it. And the recipes are all easy to follow. So they come with a recipe card. I'll hold this up and hopefully you can see. Now this is a digital recipe card. I printed it off, and on the front side, it will give you a rundown of your grocery list, what you need for each of the recipes. In the bundle, you also get a week by week shopping list too that you can use. It gives your amount of servings, your prep time, all that on the front. And then over here on the back is step by step. Normally it's 5 to 6 steps that just walk you through the recipe. And to the side, you'll have your rundown of ingredients, and then all of the kitchen tools that you'll be needing. So it really is a no-brainer all the way. with that said, I just want to talk a little bit about the products to get going. The One of the seasonal products that you cannot get all the time is our pumpkin pie cheesecake blend, and I featured this using it in the pumpkin oat breakfast bars that we made a couple weeks ago here on the cooking show. Last week we made a shepherd's pie stuffed potato, and in that we featured using the shepherd's pie skillet meal seasoning. This week I'm using the garlic herb blend in the recipe for pumpkin mac and cheese. And then we've also got a pot pie skillet meal seasoning, and that comes in the bundle as well. So now that I've got that out of the way, I'm just going to set things to the side so that we can get going here. Last week I threw that across the kitchen. I'm trying to maintain control this week a little bit. So we'll just get the stove going, and we're going to start with this recipe. And I've pre-cooked my noodles today, but we're going to start with this recipe by putting in the butter, and you can get the quantities on everything again on my website. And that there are two areas where you can get the recipes. So even if you decide that, you know, the bundle is really not right for you, you can go to the website and get most of the ingredients just a la carte, you know. So if you love the shepherd's pie potatoes last week, you could go and get that. But on my website, there are different areas where you can get to the recipes. I would start by going to gfreedeliciously.com, and then you're going to scroll down the page or click on, I'm sorry, you're going to click on the recipes tab and scroll down the page just a little bit, where you'll see, first of all, my featured recipes, and that has the last 4 that I've done. And if you scroll down just a little bit further, you can find all the recipes. And when you keep scrolling, there is a tab where there are Wildtree recipes, and you can sort by just the Wildtree recipes if you'd like to. And that, again, I tried to put in a lot of what I think is interesting information for you, little hints and tips in the recipe. So now we've got the butter nice and melty here. So what we're doing is we're making a roux to start with. And if you've been around the kitchen cooking for a while, a roux is what's going to make, it's used in soups and different dishes and that to make it kind of creamy and start up. So I've got some gluten-free flour here, and I'm just going to dump that in the pan with the butter and keep stirring. And I've used, and that just 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. So then I'm whisking this just to make this, and I'm hoping that you can see it. It's a buttery, floury mixture in that. So once we've got that, we're going to cook that for just about 1 minute, so that we can let the flour brown a little bit, because it's going to give a little extra taste in that to it. I've pre-measured everything out, so I just used a pint jar. You're going to need 2 cups of milk, and I've got that ready to go here. So the next thing that we're going to do is just pour in the milk, and we're going to whisk that all until it's smooth. I'll set that down out of the way. So as this is cooking up, we're just going to keep whisking that and everything for just a minute or two to get that butter, the flour, and the milk all combined here. And as it warms, the milk will begin to thicken. So we're just bringing it to a simmer as this goes. Getting it all nice and smooth. It will be a little bit lumpy to start, but it soon kind of mixes all together for you there. One of the important things that you want to do is make sure that your flame, if you're on a gas stove, or your heat setting on your electric stove, that it's not going to boil. You just want to simmer it because you don't want it to get lumpy on you at all. I'm just going to turn that up just a little bit. My simmer was a very low simmer. So while that's working on getting thick, and that I did want to just talk a little bit about the pasta that is going into this dish. Because I specialize in gluten-free, of course, I'm using a gluten-free pasta. And thinking about the pastas, you know, everybody has their favorite tastes. And you can get a lot of different shapes of pastas, a lot of different gluten-free pastas, and that in brown rice flour pasta, in corn pastas, in vegetable pastas as well. There are also gluten-free lentil and chickpea pastas. Of course, chickpeas are garbanzo beans. So there's a pretty wide variety really in gluten-free pastas that are out there. And so here we go. So you are able to choose something that is just right for your taste. Now, I've tried many gluten-free pastas, and again, they come in many shapes. I prefer the brown rice pastas. And one of the things that I've noticed about brown rice pasta that not only myself, but my husband and other members of our family have commented on is that they don't feel like you dropped something very heavy in your stomach when you're eating them. So that's getting a little thicker. And as that thickens too, I'll just show you. Another thing is you know, they make the fancy clips for keeping your bags and everything. I found at the office supply store these fun little clips that I end up using for bags too. They're a little bit cheaper than buying the fancier clips and that. But back to the pasta, with the brown rice pasta, one of the things I love about it is that it doesn't get mushy at all. Corn pastas tend to break down and be more mushy, and they have a little bit more grainy texture to them. and that, where the brown rice pastas, and I kept a few aside just so that I can show you, and that what this particular shape looks like. If you look for, the recipe will say a rigatoni, and in gluten-free, it's awfully hard to find a gluten-free rigatoni. They are out there, but they're very expensive. I tend to try to keep our grocery bill under control. And so I try to go with things that are easily found at my local store in the organic and gluten-free area. And here we go. We're starting to get nice and thick now, simmering. You probably can see the steam and that from the mixture coming up here a little bit. So as that's getting thick, the next thing that I'm going to do here is add the pumpkin puree. And again, you can use canned pumpkin. You're not going to want to use the pumpkin pie. You want 100% pumpkin, and you're going to want a full can of that, which is going to be about 15 ounces. I've cooked mine down from pie pumpkins that we grew in our garden. And you can certainly find pie pumpkins this time of year at many of the indoor farmers markets. And that, so I've just added that pumpkin to this. And again, I'm going to whisk it around to get that all added. And this is starting to thicken up really, really nicely. And that, and you just keep whisking. When you are using a flour and butter base, it is going to require a little bit of attention to keep whisking and stirring it so that it doesn't become clumpy on you. So that's coming together real, real nice. And the next thing we're going to do is add the cheddar cheese. I've got 2 cups of cheddar cheese, again, that I have grated ahead of time. And you can certainly buy pre-grated cheeses. Pre-grated cheeses, you want to make sure that you're looking at a package that does say gluten-free, if that is the diet that you're following, and that. So come on, cheese, get out of there. So the cheese is being stirred in. And it's going to get all melty. And then the last thing is I've got my garlic herb blend, and I've got a little salt that I've just pre-measured out here. So I'm going to stir that in too. And this is where the smells really come together in that. So if you pre-grate your cheese, you will have a little bit of clumping in that in the cheese. That's to be expected, but if you're using it for something like this, it doesn't matter. If you grate the cheese yourself, you're going to find that it's going to be at a little less price point than what you're going to pay at the grocery store when you're buying pre-grated cheeses. And that, nothing against those, you know, if you have the resources in that and like the convenience of the pre-grated, go for it. It's wonderful. So that has come all together. My cheese is almost melted. Oh, and the smells that are coming out of this pan. Now, in the recipe, it says a saucepan, and I'm just trying to use a deep skillet here so that hopefully you can see a little bit better as I'm putting things together. You can easily pre-boil your pasta. So if you've got something going on with the kids, or you need to put in some extra time after work, or you're coming home from an activity shuffleboard or whatever, and that you can do your pasta ahead of time. You're just going to cook it up. For this recipe, you're going to want to look for a pasta that has a bigger hole in it, and that so that everything, the cheesy part, all soaks in to the pasta here for you. Now, when I'm doing pasta, when I'm making that ahead of time, and that after you've boiled your pasta, you want to just do a real quick cold water rinse to cool the pasta down quickly so that it doesn't keep cooking. And then afterwards, when you're probably going to put it in a dish until you need it. So if you put in just a drizzle of olive oil or grapeseed oil, and that will keep those noodles from sticking together. So now you can see how nice and thick this dish is getting, how wonderfully cheesy it is. And of course, depending on how thick you like your pumpkin mac and cheese, you can up or down the liquid amount a little bit. We love it when it's nice and cheesy and just good and creamy, and that wonderful, good and creamy. So now that we've got it together, I'm just going to put together a serving here. And that's it. That's absolutely how simple, how quick this meal is. It's a wonderful fall meal. And I've got a little bit of Parmesan cheese to sprinkle over top. So there you go. There's the cheese. It's just a comforting, wonderful meal for a fall day. So if you've enjoyed the cooking show, please like it on Facebook, share it with your family and friends. You're able to send me messages through private messages. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And thanks so much for joining me for this week's Wildtree Wednesday.